All right, hello and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be talking about why the idea that we should all be monetizing our passion is a capitalist lie. And I'm probably going to go a little bit deep in this video and wide and broad and systemic and all of these things, so just a pre-warning on that. This might be a little bit spicy because I'm very passionate about this subject, and so that's probably where I'm going to go with it. Okay, so we are living in a world right now where so much of the self-help and the self-improvement and the spirituality and the awakening and the spiritual world is telling us that the one thing we all need to be doing to find satisfaction and abundance and joy and freedom in our lives is to find our passion and figure out a way of monetizing that passion. And that idea sounds so innocent, and it sounds so reasonable within the context of the world that we're living in, where our work and our job and what we do with our lives, how we make money, how much money we're making, is very strongly connected to our identity, our place in society, how other people view us and how other people value or do not value us, obviously our financial status in the world, and the fact that our financial status has such a huge impact on our experience that we're having in this world. It makes a lot of sense that with the culture that we've been conditioned into, where, like I say, so much of our identity and so much of our social identity and our social experience and so much of our experience in general with safety and provision and if we're gonna be okay is tied up in this idea of what we do, that it would make perfect sense that we would believe that if we can find a way of doing something that we love and getting paid for it, that this is going to give us a lot of happiness and a lot of freedom in our lives. This is something that, again, I feel we as a culture and as a society need to start to expand our view and step out of, and even just see that that is an indoctrination, and that is a part of the way that culture and society is set up that is part of our problem. Okay, second thing is to understand that because, again, we have such a strong connection to our vocation and what we do for a living, being so tied into our safety and our access and our capacity to have a good, comfortable life where we're taken care of, because these two things are so mixed, and because so many of us tend to have to spend a lot of our lifetime, just a lot of our time working at work in order to make enough money, in order to have enough provision to provide for ourselves. That, again, this idea that if we could find something that we love to do and that we can do it for money, that of course, because we're spending so much of our time at work, because we're doing so much giving of our lives to these things that we have to give to in order for us to have enough money, that of course it would follow that we would believe that if we could just find something that we love doing, that this would give us a lot of freedom in our lives. And then on top of that, the spirituality, self-help, self-improvement, abundance teachings world, like literally from religion all the way to New Age, all the way to the boss babe bro culture, kind of everywhere that we look now. We're now being sold this message that if you are truly living your purpose, that if you are truly living what means, like doing something that actually means something to you, if you're really self-actualizing, which is essentially what they're saying, if you're really on a path of self-actualization, if you're really on a path of understanding yourself and knowing who you are and evolving spiritually, or just doing what you should be doing in the world, whatever that is, depending on the people that you're listening to, that if you're really on this self-actualization path, if you're really on this spirituality path, that you will be discovering what your purpose is, that you will be discovering what it is on this, that you were here to do on this planet. So again, remember, we're already viewing and telling people that purpose, that you finding your purpose is something that you are doing or are here to do on this planet. So that we're already indoctrinated that that is what purpose is. Purpose is finding that thing, that very special thing that only you can do, that if you are doing it properly, you are living your purpose, and therefore the universe or the marketplace or whatever it is going to reward you with abundance. This is essentially the main message that we're getting from pretty much every direction that we look these days. If you are truly living your purpose, you will be finding that thing that you are meant to do with your life. And then if you start doing that thing, you will be rewarded with abundance. That is pretty much, if you boil it down, anywhere you look. You can look in the Christian circles, you can look in the New Age circles, like I say, you look in the boss babe bro culture. Everyone is essentially saying some version of this. If you're truly serving the Lord, if you're truly serving your purpose, if you're truly doing whatever you need to be doing, you will be provided for. You will have enough. You will have more than enough. And then, like I say, like a lot in the spirituality, New Age, abundance culture, it's you will then have abundance. You will then have much more than you need. And I feel like we are not taking a step back and questioning the very foundations of this messaging, and we're not taking a step back and questioning the very foundations again of how our structures are built, and we're not questioning the very foundations of why we believe that this is what purpose is and that this is what happiness is. And I think this is why so many of us are feeling so lost and so confused and like spiritual failures, or like we're missing something, or we're not doing something right if we're not manifesting abundance. And we're also feeling like we're looking for our purpose, and we're looking for our meaning, and we're looking for who we are supposed to be on this planet within the context of a thing that we can do for money. Okay? And then at the same time, we are starting to look at those things that we know about ourselves that we love to do, like our art or our reading or whatever it is, that these things that we do in our spare time, these things that we do because we enjoy doing them, and we're getting this message that we should be monetizing that we should be turning that into a side hustle or into a business or into a whatever it is that we're doing. Because again, if you're passionate about something, or if you're interested in something, or if whatever something means something to you, that the way to legitimize it and the way to make it good and the way to make it real is to make it monetary in some way, is to turn it into a business, turn it into something that will make you money. And then again, this is not to say, okay, so I want to be very clear here. This is not to say that we shouldn't look for a job that we like doing. This is not to say that you shouldn't turn a passion into a career. This is not to discourage doing that ever on any level. Because of course, yes, like I say, the realities of our world right now is that most of us are going to spend a large portion of our time working. In order to earn enough money, in order to have provision, in order to survive in this world, we have to work. And to find a way of working and to find a way of doing your service in the world in exchange for monetary value that you enjoy is of course great. And I am not ever going to stand here and say that you shouldn't do that. And again, if you want to turn one of your passions or something that you enjoy doing into a career, I am not here to discourage that either. I also did that. What I am here to say, okay, my main point with this is number one, we as a culture, I believe, need to take a step back and really consider how much we are willing to feed our entire lives into the capitalist structure that exists. How much we are willing to give of ourselves to the system before we start to say the return on this investment isn't fair, the return on this investment isn't healthy, and the return on this investment might actually be toxic and part of the problem. Okay, so the next thing that I just want to say before we even get any deeper into this is the idea of this. There is no one area of your life that is going to be the thing that satisfies you. And our capitalist structure continually is feeding us this idea that if we just find the perfect work, the perfect vocation, the perfect way of trading time for money, that this is going to be the thing that satisfies us. And capitalism and our society tells us that the more money you have, the more abundance you have, the more power you have, the more influence you have, the happier you will be. And what we need to start to step back and recognize is this. The truth is that when we have enough of these things, we feel happy. When we have too little of these things, it really does hurt us. Okay, so I want to be very specific here. That I am not saying this is all made up, we should all just learn to be okay with nothing. And people who don't have anything should just learn to be happy. No. We want to be pragmatic and realistic, which is this. When you absolutely don't have enough money to survive, when you have to work beyond what is healthy in order to have enough resources to live, when you don't have access to healthcare and food and safety and community, you are going to suffer. Just like a plant is going to suffer when it does not have access to enough sunlight, when it does not have access to enough water, when the soil that it is living in is not nutrient rich. It's going to have to adapt, it's going to have to downgrade its function, it's going to suffer, it's going to have, I know that plants don't feel pain, but you see what I'm saying. It's going to suffer, just every other form of life. When we don't have our basic necessities, when we live in a world, which we do, where our safety and our sense of being okay is constantly being challenged and questioned, either through manufactured discontent and the way that society works, or actual not having enough because of the way society works, or because of natural circumstances, we are not going to feel good. Okay, so this is not a rant to say anti-money, we all should just learn to be okay with nothing, and like I say, people who have nothing should just be grateful. That is not the reality. The reality is, when we have too little, we do suffer. And the reality is that there is a point at which we have enough, and then more from there does not increase our happiness. There absolutely is a point where we have enough security, good enough provision, good enough joy in our work, good enough community, that we can find a way of being happy, that we can find a way of being satisfied, that we can find a way, and again, this isn't to say that life is then perfect and you just get on with things and everything's great. It is to say that we can find a relative level of satisfaction within the waves of life, and we can be relatively okay when we have that enough. And then, like I say, when we start to add more to that, when we start to increase on top of what is genuinely enough, studies have shown that we do not get happier. We do not actually get more satisfied. We do not become more fulfilled. It does not increase happiness the way that culture is telling us that it does. So what we have to look at here is the fact that we are being sold this idea over and over and over and over and over again, that it is extreme wealth, abundance, access, power, that we should all be chasing in order to feel good, in order to feel like we're living our purpose, in order to feel like we're doing the right thing. So much of this idea of living our purpose and doing the right thing and being who we're supposed to be is wrapped up in our culture in this idea of greatness, in this idea of big, grand, over-the-topness. And this is part of what I believe is what's keeping the system going, that's making it almost impossible for most people to be happy. We are being trained and indoctrinated to chase something, to chase bigger, better, always on the increase, always improving, always getting bigger, always becoming more abundant. We are primed and trained to believe that more is always better, bigger is always better, that if you reach a place of good, that if you reach a place of satisfaction, if you reach a place of this is pretty good and this is working, to not keep going for more, to not keep striving for better, to not keep trying to get to the next level is a failure, is giving up, is not reaching your potential. We're constantly being sold this message that we need to be leveling up on every level, that we have to be increasing. And again, that purpose is a thing we do for money that should be making us more and more and more and more and more money, more and more and more and more influence, more and more and more and more power. And this message is often taught to people who have less than they need, who are not secure. And the people who have abundance, celebrities and politicians and these people who are in positions of power, we idolize them and we put them on a pedestal. And we say, like, see, you can be like them one day if you just work hard enough, and if you just pull yourself up by your bootstraps hard enough, and if you just spiritually evolve yourself enough, and if you just work hard enough at whatever it is that your particular brand is telling you need to work on. You can become great like them, and when you become great like them, you will have the things that they have, and those are the things that make us happy as humans. And because it's half true, because it is absolutely half true, or it is absolutely true that in our society and in our culture, the more power, money, and access you have, the more likely you are to be able to afford the things that you need, the more likely you are to be safe from harm, the more likely you are to be able to explore passions and interests and have leisure time and do all of these things that are a part of a happy life. So because we have in our capitalist structure essentially what is a pyramid scheme, we're all constantly being tricked into this idea that it is the abundance that makes us happy. It is the abundance that makes us fulfilled. It is the abundance that is the reflection of us having done what we should do, and that we are doing what we should be doing, that we are living our purpose and living in alignment and doing the right thing. Because obviously, if you're living in alignment and doing the right thing, the universe or God or whatever is going to reward you with abundance. And it is abundance that makes you happy, because look at these people who have abundance. They are the most happy. And like I say, because they're talking to people who either have scarcity, like actual genuine scarcity, or they're talking to the people in the middle who have continued manufactured scarcity in the way that our culture is, right? With trends and with just like this constant threat of not being good enough, of the constant threat of the economy crashing, the constant threat of whatever you have just going away and disappearing. The constant threat that whatever you have now isn't good enough for tomorrow. If it's good enough for today, it's good enough for today, but you better be striving for something tomorrow. Right? Either we're afraid for ourselves actually, physically, financially, or we're afraid for ourselves socially. There's this constant either actual not having enough, or this constant threat that you won't have enough and you won't be safe and you won't have enough. That this lie can keep being fed to us and we don't question it. We don't step back and go, okay, wait, what? Number one, are the people with the most abundance in our culture actually the happiest? And we have very clear evidence at this point. Very, 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 very clear evidence that the people who have the most in our culture are absolutely not the happiest. They tend to be some of the most oppressed, the most addicted, the most coping, the most isolating themselves, the most mentally and emotionally unstable people. Like, in order to live in our world, where so many people are struggling with having their basic needs met, where we have the technology, we have the understanding, we have the resources to be able to alleviate unnecessary suffering for thousands or millions of people with the amount of wealth that the people who are wealthy in our society have. And rather than doing that, they buy their third yacht, they go to space, they spend that money on something ridiculous, or they just hoard it because they are afraid, or whatever it is that's going on with them in their level, that they believe it is better for them to hoard that wealth and to spend it on themselves and luxury and keeping themselves in a position where they are untouchable by society is better than creating a more equal society. We can look at that and say, okay, that is not the characteristic of a healthy, happy, well-balanced person. Just people who are happy and healthy and well-balanced would not do that. You have to be in some kind of state that is not well in order to justify that kind of behavior. And our culture breeds that. Our culture literally, fully and completely breeds people who are at the top who do not have compassion for everyone else. That people who are at the top do not redistribute in a way that would be reasonable. Because the entire structure of how they got there would fall apart if they did. Again, we have to understand that our economic systems, that our systems of manufacturing and distribution are completely built on exploitation and inflation of wealth, inflation of value. The only reason we have the systems we have right now, where so many people could have so little within a culture and within a society and within a global community that has so much technology, so much resource, so much understanding about how to support the human life, is because it's set up that way. It's set up that those at the top are at the top because the people at the bottom are at the bottom. The only way you create a society this imbalanced is if it was built upon imbalance. The only way we got to where we are is people at the top exploited the labor of people at the bottom. People at the bottom produced goods, services, and manufacturing, and were paid less than the value of what they were creating for human society. What was being created has an actual real value in terms of how it supports human life. And the workers, the manufacturers, the people who were doing the actual labor were getting paid less than what the owners of the owners of the manufacturing, the owners of whatever, were being paid in exchange for those resources. So resources were being created, things were being done, services rendered by these people at this price by society, and then the owners were taking more, charging more for the service or the whatever was being produced than it was worth, or than would have been fair to have been paid to produce it. So they were accumulating wealth for themselves at the expense of everyone else. It cost the workers and it cost the public that extra money, that extra exchange, so that those at the top could hoard more. That's how that happened. That's how our structures work. Those who own the means of production are paid astronomically more than those who actually do the work, and astronomically more than what the resource that they're giving and providing is actually worth to human life. That is what inflation is. The price of the good is higher than the value it actually gives. It's higher than the value that it gives, and it's higher than what is required for its manufacturing. And that extra profit goes to the owner. And that is how our culture has always been. That's how our economic system functions. So there is no trickle down. There is no, the extra gets to the workers. Because if it did, the entire system would collapse. If the workers were being paid fairly, and if the public was being charged fairly, there would be no extra profit that is then accumulated at the top. And then we would not have what we have. We would not have the pyramid scheme that we live in. And the reason it is a pyramid scheme is because if you aren't in the top 1% by birth, most of the time, you're not going to work your way up into it. Generally speaking. There's a cap at how hard and how much you can work and how rich you can become working. You can become a millionaire working. You can become a millionaire being an entertainer or being a whatever. But until you are the owner of whatever it is that's being produced, until you get into ownership, right? You're not going to be one of the top people. And ownership is passed down. And it has been passed down for generation and generation and generation. And this continually being fed this idea that we live in an even playing field. And that if everyone just worked hard enough, anyone could get the success that anyone else has, is a lie. It's just not true. Because again, just bottom line, if you grew up in a household where your parents could provide a reasonable, safe environment and food every day and you got to go to school, versus growing up in an environment where you didn't know if there was going to be dinner on the table from one night to the next, you're starting on two different playing fields. How hard you're going to work from each place, like to boil down the human experience and why we are experiencing what we're experiencing in our financial life, in our work life, in any part of our lives, to how hard are you working and how hard are you trying is to completely ignore 90% of why most people are where they are. And this is why my message is self-love. Because if your path of self-love isn't taking you down the path of starting to have compassion for yourself, for all of your scapegoats and addictions and all these things you think are wrong with you, and all these places in life where you feel like you're failing and not doing good enough, and where all that shame is, if it's not helping you understand that you got to where you are for a reason, that you have adapted, just like that plant who was not getting what they needed, to your environment, and that most of the time when we are not given what we need, when we are not given what is good for us, we have to be maladapted. No human being on this planet simply decided to wake up and be poor, simply decided to wake up and just not try, simply decided to just wake up and be an addict. That is not a reality. Everybody is trying their best to meet their needs with the past, with the body, with the mind, with the environment that they were given. And if we can't understand that, if we can't understand structure and system, that we are just as much nature as we are nurture, if we can't start to release the idea of this black and white thinking, that we are either 100% in control of our reality and everything that we are is because of us and we've all made some conscious choice to just be who we are in our adulthood, or we have no power, we have no say over ourselves, that everything is just fate and destiny and system and we can't do anything about it, we're going to be stuck forever. So what I'm trying to get us to understand is we love ourselves and we do this self-love work, number one, so we can start to identify where it is not a flaw in us. It is not a problem with us. It is not something wrong with us that we are where we are and that we are suffering the way that we're suffering. That it is systemic, that it is familial, that it is patterns, that it is we didn't get our needs met, we didn't understand our needs, reality didn't work for us, there was illness, there was a million co-founding factors to how we ended up to where we are right now. That none of us woke up and had the perfect clear choice to just have this great, abundant, awesome life where we lived a purpose and had great relationships and were super healthy and then just decided to fuck it up some way. No. All of us are striving to feel good. All of us are striving to try to make our lives as good as we possibly can. And if we're struggling and if we're suffering and if things aren't going well, it's because we're not getting our needs met, we don't see ourselves, we're being antagonized, we have systems that are going on. And then, from our self-love work, again, we start to recognize where we stop blaming ourselves, where we stop trying to change and fix our broken selves, and where we can start to say, okay, no, it's society, it's my family, it's culture, these things are messed up, and then what can I do from my place of power to help myself in the ways that I actually can? What can I do to try and change society? What can I do to make it just a little bit better for myself and others? It's not black and white. It's not one or the other. We don't have perfect, whole, complete control, and we don't have no power. And self-love teaches us where our power is and what we can do about the whole thing. That's what your self-love work should be helping you do. It's realizing that there is nothing wrong with you and you are not broken and you are not bad and there is no bad part of you. Everything is an adaptation. Everything is a way that we are trying to survive. Everything got passed to you in some way. Nobody simply consciously decided to fuck up their life. It's just not a thing. And now, what do I need? What can I do? What can I give myself within the reality that exists to help myself just a little bit? We take our power where it is. Because again, it doesn't mean that we can make the world perfect. It doesn't mean that we have to give up. And I think that no one can tell you what you have to do. Because here's the other thing. I believe that there are people on this planet and in our culture and my biggest thing is no one has the right to tell you what you should do with your life. No one has the right to tell you that you have to learn a lesson, or that you have to try hard, or that you have to try and heal, or that you have to try and make it better. No one can tell you that. No one can tell you that you should give up and that you shouldn't keep trying and that there's no point. No one can tell you that. We can only make that choice for ourselves. So what I hope to offer with these videos is for anyone out there who wants to keep trying, who wants to do what you can, that's what I'm here for. But I'm not telling you that you have to, and I'm not telling you that you should, and I'm not telling you that that is what the right thing is. If that's what you would like to do, I would like to support you in that. So with this idea of abundance and all of this, we need to again back up and look at reality and say, no, 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 no. Finding the right career, finding the right thing that I do for money, turning something that I love doing into a career is not the answer to life satisfaction. And the more that we continue to put all of our eggs in this abundance basket, that when we have abundance, when we have more than we need, we will be happier. And that if we are actually evolving, and if we are doing the right thing, and if we're actually striving all of these things, we should be being blessed with abundance, and we should be continually leveling up. We need to stop buying that lie. Because again, number one, vocation is one area of your life. It is one area of happiness, one area of satisfaction. Because again, I completely validate the idea that when we do work that means something to us, we're going to feel better in our lives. When we have any kind of purpose behind what we are doing with our lives most of the time, every day, of course that is going to feel good. And it is my opinion that, again, we can find meaning behind doing what we're doing in most situations, right? Like we work a job as a cash register, we work the till, we do whatever we do. We can say like, right, I'm doing this for the reason of supporting myself. The reason that I'm doing this is because it affords me my apartment, it affords me food, and it is good enough. In the sense of, you don't need to be telling yourself that because you're not a CEO of a company or boss babing or whatever it is, that you're not living a purposeful life. That if you're not great by society's standards, that this means you are not purposeful. Or that your work isn't meaningful or purposeful. Because this is, again, something that is very fucked up in our society. What we most value, what we give the most abundance to, are not the things in our society that are the most valuable by actual reality standards. At all. Our nurses, our teachers, our waste collectors, our cashiers, the people who bring us our food. These people, arguably, are in the most valuable sector of our society. This is what we learned, hopefully, I would think, through what we just went through. When we don't have these people, we don't have anything. And yet, they are some of the least respected, the least valued, monetarily and respectfully, positions in our world. We pay the people we depend on the most, the least. And we make people feel like their job is something to be frowned upon, and that it isn't purposeful, and you better be working for something better. And if you're in this position, it's embarrassing, or it's below or beneath. And that, to me, in my personal opinion, is completely ridiculous. Because again, we would be fine without most of the CEOs. We could easily survive without our millionaire athletes and our millionaire singers and actors. Easily be okay without these people. We would not be okay without farmers, without cashiers, without trash collectors, without the people who maintain our city streets, without our nurses and teachers. We would not be okay without these people. And yet we don't value those positions in life generally as being people living their purpose. And so much in the boss babe culture of like, you need to be an entrepreneur and all these things, just frowning so much upon working a regular job in quotes, as though this is some lesser, lower thing. And again, the only reason it might be seen as a lesser or lower thing is not because it's actually lesser or lower in any real sense in reality. Usually it's because it's just lesser or lower in cultural opinion. And cultural opinion having such a huge sway on how much money you make, and therefore the access and the resource and the power and the privilege you have in our society. But that is a pyramid scheme. We don't value what is valuable in our society, in our culture. So no, it is not reality that if you find your purpose, you are going to be in abundance, and that your purpose is a thing that you do for money. Because again, number one, there would be a lot of people out there who felt a whole lot better about the work that they do, maintaining our streets and getting us our food and maintaining the cleanliness and the order of our society. Those people could feel a lot more purposeful in their work and purposeful in their lives if they were valued more by our culture, both monetarily and opinion-wise. So much of the reason people don't feel like what they're doing is purposeful is, again, not because it isn't. It's because culture and society has made the rule that it isn't, and then has attached a financial burden on that. So that's silly. And number two, the fact that so many of us have to spend so much of our lives working. That means that we sacrifice these other areas of our lives. Our health, our relationships, our hobbies, all the other aspects of our humanity. The fact that we have to, most of the time, deny our bodies and our emotions and what we feel and what is actually true and good and right for us in order to work properly in quotes again, within the system. Again, tells us that just because you have financial success, just because you are working in something that gives you monetary feedback and gives you praise and all of these things, you are not necessarily going to be a happy, fulfilled, satisfied person. And in our culture, more often than not, you're going to be less of those things. Because in order to get to these positions of power and abundance, when you're a worker, especially, you have to sacrifice yourself so much to the system. You have to sacrifice so much of your humanity to the system in order to get that abundance and to get that wealth. You have to sacrifice so much of your time and so much of your energy and so much of your feeling and your relationships, and like I say, in order to try to get abundance so that you don't have to do that anymore. Or you get to that abundance, and again, it is just so celebrated in our culture to be working all the time and hustling and leveling up and doing more and being more and earning more and taking more and building more, that you're not going to be happy. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. Because the human being is not satisfied by putting in as many possible hours into work. That is not what makes a life. That is not what makes a human happy. And in fact, like I say, the way that our system is set up means we have to sacrifice our happiness, so much of our humanity, in order to attain this wealth and abundance. That to think that that is going to someday, if I sacrifice enough, if I give enough, if I give of myself enough, if I sacrifice myself enough, one day it's going to lead to happiness. It's insanity. If the path that you're having to take to get to your goal looks nothing like the goal, it's not the path to your goal. So again, how many of our celebrities, how many of our CEOs, how many of our people who are at the top of our system do we have to watch destroy their lives, burn their lives to the ground, have so many emotional, physical, mental issues before we start to say, maybe the system is fucking us up? Maybe continually chasing abundance and growth and expansion at all costs isn't making us happy. It's not making anybody happy. Everybody is suffering because of this shitty system. The people at the bottom are continually suffering, the people in the middle are continually suffering, and the people at the top are suffering in their way too. Nobody is winning. This is not working for anybody. Because we are complex human beings that, again, enough is required. When we don't have enough, it's not good. And I want to make that very, very clear. There are multiple people in our culture and in our society who do not have enough, who are continually antagonized by the system itself. And that is a big problem. Especially, again, in a world, in a culture, in countries where we have absolutely enough resource and understanding to equally distribute. But what would happen then is absolutely people would stop participating in a system that enables massive wealth at the top. If we all said enough is enough, I'm not going to keep going for more. And what we mean by this in multiple ways, right? Enough is enough. So I'm not going to buy the bigger house. I'm not going to buy the next designer bag. I'm not going to participate in the next trend. I'm not going to keep leveling my business up. I'm not going to keep over-consuming. We would fuck up the profit margins of all the people at the top. If people in the middle just said, this is good enough, I don't need any more, I'm going to start finding satisfaction in other areas of my life because I have enough, when that is a real reality for you. So I'm not saying that is for everyone. I'm not saying that's for everyone listening. I'm saying the people who actually get there. What if we stop? What if we don't keep taking? What if we don't keep leveling up in our career? And we start to focus on other things in our lives. We start to focus on our relationships. We start to focus on giving back. We start to focus on just not buying more things than we actually need. The entire system would collapse just because of that. Or, like I say, we start to say, okay, I'm not going to support corporations as much as I can. I now am in a place where I do have the time and I do have the money to source from people who are not a corporation. I can start to actively redistribute my wealth because I have the time and I'm the money and the resources in order to do that. And I'm going to choose to do that. I'm going to go out of my way. I'm going to choose to go out of my way to redistribute where I can, more equally and more fairly. We would start to knock the balance. And then, like I say, and then that means the people at the bottom are not so willing and not so forced to overwork and to submit to exploitation in order to survive. Because, like I say, this isn't the people at the bottom's fault. Like I make this very clear. The single mom who's working 2 jobs to just try and make ends meet, it is not her responsibility to stop shopping at Walmart. She is not the problem. It's not up to her to try and say, okay, well, now I need to try and source locally and not pay a corporation, right? Like that's a tangled web that she's in. That's not her fault. So it's not on her. to stop shopping at Walmart when Walmart is all she can afford because of the shitty system. It's on the people in the middle to start to say, okay, I'm not going to keep supporting the corporation, and I'm going to try and support her. It's not about more for myself. It's not about continuing to level up in how much I have and how much I'm doing and how much I'm working, and my purpose is this huge thing, and if I'm not abundant, I'm not living my purpose. We got to stop. So like I say, we do that for others, but we do it for ourselves too. That when we have enough, start focusing on something else. Your career is not your purpose. Absolutely find work that you like. Find work that you love. Spend a healthy amount of time working. Get to the point where you have enough, 100%. And then go discover more about yourself. Have hobbies that you don't turn into a career. Have parts of your life you don't share with social media. Go be in your relationships. Get therapy. Do the things that develop you as a human being. This is what's going to bring more satisfaction and more purpose to your life. Not more money, not more work. Like again, right? Like it's like when you have multiple nutritional deficiencies and you start taking a magnesium supplement, and magnesium is one of the things that you were deficient in. It's going to make you feel a little bit better. But if you're also deficient in vitamin C and vitamin D and calcium, there's no amount of magnesium that's going to fill the hole where calcium and the other nutrients that I said are. There's no amount of magnesium that's going to make up for the vitamin C deficiency. There's no amount of magnesium that's going to make up for the calcium deficiency. There's no amount of working that's going to make up for not having good relationships, not being able to explore hobbies and passions, not being able to take care of your body, not sleeping, not enjoying leisure time, not enjoying art and culture. There's no amount of work that's going to fix these things. There's no amount of work that's going to bring satisfaction in these areas when all these other parts of our humanity are being sacrificed. It is a capitalist lie that we should be monetizing every one of our passions, and that will bring you abundance, and that abundance will make you happy. It is not true. Enough will provide you the platform to make yourself happy. Beyond that, it's just participation in a shitty system that forces the exploitation of some for the abundance of others that doesn't make anybody happy. And continuing to believe that we are going to be more happy when we have more power and more money and following the trends and all of these things is what's killing us. We have to wake up to this system. Our society does not value what is valuable. Number one, people who are working jobs right now for minimum wage are generally the most valuable people in our society. And they should feel purposeful when they go to their job. They should feel proud of what they are doing because they are providing a service that we need. And the fact that they don't, and the fact that they aren't provided for by society is wrong, in my opinion. The people who have the most in our society and in our culture, generally speaking, do not provide the most benefit. And they are not providing enough benefit to outweigh what they are taking for themselves. And they are demanding that the people below them don't have enough. They are demanding that there is inflation of value. They are demanding that we in the middle live in chronic manufactured discontent so that we will continue blindly buying shit we don't need, blindly participating in systems that are really fucked up, that we will continue to allow the exploitation of workers to exist and not rise up, because we constantly feel like we're not enough and we're not doing enough and we don't have enough. Whether we do or don't, it doesn't really matter. We just feel that way all the time because we're constantly told that we shouldn't. So even when we are okay, and even when we do have enough, we feel like we need to go for more. And then, like I say, the spiritual community comes in and says, if you're really doing your purpose and if you're really leveling up, you should be great. No. Take care of yourself. Take care of your community. That is great. If you are able to have a sustainable way of living, and then, like I say, you then have some extra time and extra resources to redistribute to your community, you are living a great life. That's enough. That is a fantastic life. That is purpose. It does not need to be bigger than that. And honestly, most of the time, when it gets bigger than that, it becomes toxic. Like again, how many of our self-help gurus do we have to look at in their giant mansions, giving us messages on Christmas to just like think about how great our year was, like think about our lovely messages while people literally just like lost everything? Do we need before we're like, okay, that's like fucked up? Why are we praising these people? Why are we pedestalizing these people? Sure, they have a great message. But if they actually care, they're going to see where the exploitation has to be happening in order for them to be millionaires. And they will say, okay, no, that's not okay. That totally does not align with my message. And yet we don't see that very much. Like again, I haven't up-leveled perception trainers in years because we make enough. I have a husband who makes enough. So I am blessed to not have to make money at what I'm doing. I make enough money to support my designer, and I'm not going to do anything else to force this to be bigger, to make more money. I'm not going to charge more. I give as much away for free as I can because I can. And I'm not saying this is what everyone should do, and I'm not saying this is what every therapist should do, and not at all. No. I'm saying I should because I can. I feel it is my responsibility because of where I am. And I am not standing here saying that anyone should do what anyone should do. You decide for yourself what aligns with your values. That's up to you. But for me, this is what aligns with my value. I have enough. I don't need more. And I feel like that's good. That's good. That's enough. And so where can I give? Where can I pour out? Where can I offer support to a community that's chronically under-resourced? So right, I'm not a therapist. I didn't get to go to school. I didn't have those resources. But I have tools that I can give, and I can give them away for free because of the position that I'm in, and I'm going to because this community is chronically underserved. And that's not okay with me. So you see what I'm saying? It's not heroic. There's nothing special about me. And I'm not doing it perfectly, and I'm not doing everything that anyone should, nothing like this. I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm just saying it is possible to get to a place of enough and then not keep going and still feel purposeful. I still feel like I'm living a very purposeful life, even though I'm not growing. I'm not becoming world famous. Because it's enough. It's enough. So this is what I'm trying to say. Absolutely find work that you love. No one is telling you not to. If you're in a position to be able to do that, do it. But don't expect that to fulfill you, because it's not going to. Your vocation is not your life. Your vocation is not your purpose. Your vocation is not who you are. Your vocation is how you make money in our system. You don't have to keep leveling up. You don't have to be becoming more. And no, just because you're living your purpose does not mean you will be valued by our society. Our society is totally fucked up in what it values. People who are, like I say, bagging our groceries and cleaning our streets should be valued beyond value. These positions should be coveted. Because what more purposeful work could you do? We should not have millionaires and billionaires. It's unreasonable. It will not make you happy. Just please stop believing the lie that it will make you happy to have more than you need. Have enough and then redistribute. That's all I'm trying to say. And that will make you feel fulfilled. And you will have to contradict the programming of our society that tells you that that's not good enough, and that that isn't enough, and that you're failing. And you will have to look and say, no, what I'm failing to do is to feed this fucked up system. That's what I'm failing to do. I'm failing to overconsume. I'm failing to buy into manufactured discontent. I'm failing to overproduce and sacrifice myself for the system that then exploits and exploits and exploits, and then I'm too tired and I'm overworked and I'm overburdened to be able to do anything about it. When we can get to a place of enough, we need to, and then we need to start to say, where can I check out? And then where can I redistribute instead? That will give you way more purpose. And then spend the rest of your time reading or talking or doing therapy or going in outside. When you have that extra time and that extra space in your life, don't fill it with more work. Build a new system. Be a human. Value your humanness. And then if you're in a position where you're chronically exhausted and afraid and in fear and all of these things, stop blaming yourself. It's not your fault. Our system is fucked up. It's not your fault that you're addicted and coping. This does not mean that we then don't need medication. This does not mean that we then don't need help and that we don't need services and everyone can just get over it because it's a product of something that happened to us. No, that's not what that means. But it is to say no one is choosing to be these things because of some flaw in them. It's how you've adapted. And then whatever kind of help you need to support yourself to get through that is the kind of help and support you need. It's not enough to just think our way out of these things because we didn't think our way into them most of the time. So please stop believing that abundance is what makes you happy and that abundance is what comes when you're living your purpose. It's so much more complicated than that. And you are so much more valuable than that. There is so much more to you than what you do for money. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that was something. Please respect yourself more than culture respects you. Our system does not respect what is respectable. It does not value what is valuable. And that is not your fault. And you deserve to feel valued and purposeful and like you are doing a good job regardless. So that's what I want to offer you today. You are valued and you are purposeful no matter what you consume or produce. That is not the measure of a human life. That is capitalism and it's a lie. It's a pyramid scheme. Don't weigh yourself by the values of a pyramid scheme. Okay? Okay. That's that. I hope that was helpful again. And yeah, have a great week, have a great night, have a great day, and I'll see you next week.